Hello everybody and welcome to Scotland. I'm just on the edge of Loch Tay at the moment in the Perth and Kinross area. I'll just stand out of the way so you can see that view. The sun's shining quite brightly at the moment. I don't know how it's going to affect the camera. I'm just going to pan round. But what an ideal setting to introduce my next film. Now you all know that I'm into hard enduro, but I also like the adventure side of motorcycling as well, the long days in the saddle, whether it be road riding, trips on the continent which I've done before, or whether it's off-road riding like the trips I did in Portugal earlier this year. Now one guy that I know is really into the adventure, and that's a guy called Eddie Meek, a good friend of mine who lives in Kendal, Cumbria. Now you may remember a couple of years ago Eddie did the Fink Desert Rally in Australia. And last year we caught up with him when he was preparing to do the Continental Divide trip in America with a guy called Lyndon Poskitt. And that is an off-road trip from the Canadian Rockies down to the Mexican border, El Paso area. Now a lot of things have happened since Eddie did that trip last year. He came back and did the Western Beach race on the Dakar bike, and he's also got another project in the pipeline. But we finally got us heads together about 2 weeks ago to reflect on the American trip. And there's been a lot of issues really in terms of why it's taken so long. We live 150 miles apart, and also I've been injured as well, which delayed things even more. But we got our heads together a couple of weeks ago for a couple of hours, did a bit of a film shoot, and this is how it went. Hello everybody, and I finally made it to Kendal to catch up with my mate Eddie Meek, the Cumbrian adventurer. Eddie, it's great to see you, mate. How's things?
Yeah, great to see you, Robbo.
Yeah. Now, for those that are coming in fresh on this story, last year I met up with Eddie and he was telling me about his trip to go to America to travel the Continental Divide with a guy called Lyndon Poskitt, although you might have heard of, who did the Dakar earlier this year. And this video really is just to give people an idea of what the trip was about and roughly the cost involved, and to show that it's pretty much achievable for anybody that wants to do it. I think the biggest thing is getting your bike out to somewhere like America and, you know, undertaking such a trip.
Yeah.
And Eddie, it must have been a fantastic trip for you.
Yeah, it's a one in a lifetime experience really, but so doable. You know, having to ship the bike over and ride up to 7,000 miles and through the Rockies. You know, I'm the other side. I live the other side of the world, so I mean, you know, it just proves you can do it.
But you're just an everyday guy. You're a builder?
Yeah, in the building trade, sole trader, and just like my adventures.
But I suppose the plus side is you're not married and you're single guy, you're nobody to answer to really.
Yeah, apart from my daughter, which she doesn't have a say really.
But your daughter, aka Mini Meek. What's she think about a dad going on these crazy trips?
She's fine with it as long as I bring her back some sweets and some toys and.
But just, you know, talking about your trip now, it's a 5.5 week journey from the Rockies down to pretty much Mexico, wasn't it?
Yeah, border of Mexico, El Paso.
So looking at this photograph behind me now, which is on the screen, Continental Divide Trail, it's saying 3,100 miles. I think you did a little bit more than that, didn't you?
Well, we doubled that and a bit more, roughly around 7,000.
But the first stage of actually getting out there was to get in touch with a guy called David Wyborn and get your bike shipped out.
Yeah, to his company Shipio down in Manchester. Basically take the bike down to their warehouse, box it up in a wooden crate, as small as you can, with all your spare parts, and ready to go.
Shipping it out by air initially, and then were it coming back by boat?
Yeah, so it flew out there purely because it could arrive the day before I landed in Seattle. And by boat, well, I didn't need it on the way back, so you know, there's no time scale. So
to get your bike out to America, over to Seattle, which it was flown out to, what's the sort of cost of getting your bike there?
It was around £1,200 to fly it out. To ship it back, 800.
And that was by boat?
By boat, yeah.
Just to save a little bit of cost?
Save cost, yeah. And on the way back, there was no time scale to need my bike.
Once you got the bike to Seattle, who did you meet out there?
I met a fella called Alex Martins. We went to customs to sort the paperwork out with my bike, and there it was within an hour. came in a big box, and we took it away in his van,
Right.
which was quite comical, with the back doors open with this big box hanging out the back.
Once the bike had arrived in America, was there any particular problems at all you had with getting it through customs at all?
There was just customs charges to get it in, a bit of paperwork to sign,
Yeah.
to prove who I was, what the bike was doing here, to prove that I wasn't selling the bike over here, that it was purely for pleasure, you know, adventure, and that it was going back to the UK.
So you got your bike from Alex at Conflict Motorsport there in Seattle.
Yeah,
Got it unpacked, and then what was the next step?
I had 1,000 miles to ride to go and meet Lyndon. It was like, that was the closest we could have met, because he was coming down the Rockies, you see, and Seattle was on the coast and Bozeman was bang in the middle.
And we can see on some of the photographs, this is one of the photographs you took of your bike on the other side of the highway.
Just a quick 5-minute stretch of the legs in a beautiful place like that, and on I went again.
Having got to Bozeman and finally meeting up with Lyndon as planned, and also his friend Barton Churchill, I believe, who was stopping with him, wasn't there?
Yeah.
What was the plan when you actually got there?
To basically plot the route of where we wanted to go. Yellowstone National Park was the first point of direction.
Now I know it was about the Continental Divide, but you didn't strictly stick to the actual full route, did you? You did additional route as well?
Yeah, the backcountry discovery route. On the GPS, the maps that we've got, they gave an option of hard, easy and moderate, and we'd basically, if the Continental Divide showed an easy route and the backcountry was a harder route, we'd always go for the harder routes and more spectacular.
Are all the routes quite accessible on Google and things like that for this sort of tour?
Yeah, adventure websites, and there's links on there.
Now we could talk about your trip throughout its entirety for the 4.5 weeks that you went there, but I think it's best really, we haven't got the time and the budget to cover it all, but just trying to touch on a few of the sort of highlights of the trip.
Yeah.
I know the first one was at Yellowstone Park, wasn't it? Tell me a little bit about that.
There was no plan to go there. Basically, it was we were on the Continental Divide, and it was Yellowstone National Park was there, and we were like, well, we're this close now, we might as well, you know, go into the national park. So we kind of went into it from the backside, away from the touristy kind of area. And
I can see from this photo in the background here, this bit of a canyon behind you. There's a lot of dangerous things in there, isn't there? Like, you know, geysers and acid pools and things like that.
As well as the animals, grizzly bears, buffalo. Yeah, you're not in a safe place, really.
And while you were there, were you camping out most nights?
Yeah, I mean, once we did the Yellowstone National Park, it's a big loop section and plenty to see and that. And then at the end, at dusk, we just camped out. It was only till the next day we found out it's probably the worst place to camp because of the bears. So you wake up in the morning and see all these signs of warning, do not leave food out, and big containers to put all your food in.
Yeah. Having looked at some of your video footage, there's a lot of roads what cross through the Yellowstone National Park. There's a lot of buffalo in there. I know one day you came across quite a big herd crossing the road.
Yeah, first thing we knew about it, there was a load of cars parked up and tourists there with cameras. Next thing we see, and all these buffalo charging from one side across the road to the other side, and we were quite close to them.
Yeah.
You know, we were in the right place at the right time. It was quite a spectacular scene.
Very well. And another thing, right from the word go of leaving Seattle, you were climbing altitude as well, weren't you? I mean, into sort of Yellowstone, you're looking at what, around 8,000 feet thereabouts?
Yeah, around 8. And as we got further down the Rockies, the higher we seemed to go.
And what sort of effect did that have on you and the bike?
You started to take deeper breaths to try and get more oxygen in. You felt out of breath, and with the bike, with it being carburetted, it was obviously suffering the same. So it was lacking a bit of power.
Did you start using more fuel then as well?
Didn't notice using more fuel, no.
So you headed out of Yellowstone towards Pinedale, and you've come across a forest fire for one, which you've had to sort of circumnavigate.
Yeah.
And then you headed into this sort of terrain. which we can see in the background. Tell me about that.
Well, on the GPS, you look from point to point, and from this point to the next point was 100 miles, all off road, nothing in between. It was a perfect playground. I mean, we absolutely flew down there. We were just flat out, just rally racing all the way.
Proper Dakar style.
Oh yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we found out there was a forest fire, we were approaching all the smoke, and all the local fire crews trying to reroute us. Lyndon, being Lyndon, wanted to get where we were going, basically. So we couldn't go the route we wanted. So then we navigated basically around, and we took a route which we thought would get us there, which didn't. It was more like an extreme ravines.
So, I understand you came to pretty much a dead end in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, dead end in the middle of nowhere, but the track there was so much fun. We were racing all the way until we couldn't move our bikes anymore, so we had to come all the way back again.
Yeah. Some of it's quite boggy in places.
Boggy, rocky, you know, you're really in the thick of the trees.
And we sort of pushing the bike to its limits at that point, really.
Yeah, and still carrying all our luggage, you know, as well. So the weight of it's, you know, you're carrying the weight at high altitude, and you're really throwing it about.
Yeah.
When we got to Pinedale, stayed there the night, and that morning they recommended the Mountain Men Museum just up the road. Seen films about it, so we thought we'd just have a look, see what it was all about.
And that's about the Old West, basically.
Yeah, and the beaver and the tray. I
think we all know about beavers, don't
we? Different kind of beaver. Yeah.
But it's all about the hunting side of things there, 'cause, you know, back in the old days.
Yeah, the trading, basically, yeah.
Yeah, trading beaver furs,
yeah.
Whatever they can pretty much get their hands on, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, wildlife-wise.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, really.
So having left Pinedale and the Mountain Men and circumnavigating the fire and getting stuck on various routes, one thing or other, you've headed towards Denver, where you've seen a guy at Woody's Wheels, a guy called Woody, one of Woody's sponsors.
Yeah, it's a Lyndon sponsor. He manufactures wheels. He used those wheels on his Dakar bike recently. Yeah. We stayed there a good few days.
And then pushed on to Salida.
Salida, yeah, back into the mountains.
And what happened there? I think, did you do a bit of mountain biking?
Yeah, we did some downhill mountain biking.
How did you find that?
I was always, I've not ridden a mountain bike for ages. And the brakes were all different handlebars. Kept trying to twist the throttle, but never worked. Really good fun. Really nice place, Salida. It's good for canoeing and that. We also did a bit of enduro bikes. Ned, one of Lyndon's friends that we stayed with, lent us some enduro bikes, and we hit the local trails.
And what bike were you riding out there?
450 XC, 350, and another 450 Baja 1000 bike.
Right.
So there was a choice.
So just looking at the trip as a whole, it's very difficult for me to document it all, because A, I've not got the budget and I ain't got the time.
Yeah.
But we're looking at some small segments here, which is really the tip of the iceberg of a 4.5 to 5 week trip from North America into pretty much the border of Mexico, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of things, a lot of obstacles. You're camping out most nights. You are occasionally getting some hotels where you can get your stuff cleaned and dried.
And get showered
But what is it what really attracted you to this sort of adventure? What drives you to it?
First of all, travelling with a mate. Second, it's, you know, every day is a different day, and you don't know what's going to approach you on that day. There was no real plan of where we were going, apart from the obvious of we were following a trail, the Continental Divide, and other trails as well. But you don't know what you're going to face every day. You don't know whether you're going to have enough fuel. You don't know whether you're going to have bike issues. You don't know whether you're going to come face to face with a grizzly bear. You know, it's the whole, you know, it's an adventure, and the whole knowing that you don't know what's going to come in front of you. You know, it's.
I mean, there must have been days when you thought, what the hell am I doing?
Some days I was out of my comfort zone,
Yeah.
and yeah, you think that. Other days you're just like, this is amazing. You know, it's some of the stuff we saw, and like you say, it can't all be shown on telly because we don't have the budget, we don't have the time. It's,
Yeah.
you know, you can see a lot in a day with 500 miles.
You know, it didn't all go smoothly, did it? I know there were some crashes,
Yeah.
bit of damage to the bike.
Yeah.
Lyndon had a few offs. Tell me about those.
Lyndon had a bit of a wobble, fell off right in front of me. Basil just went everywhere. It was either ride over Lyndon or, you know, like a good mate would do, just ditch the bike into the side and wreck his own bike.
So on a day-to-day sort of budget, what were your sort of expenses in terms of fuel and food? What were you sort of budgeting on?
I'd say about $100, you know, average. We're doing a tank of fuel a day. And, you know, obviously we eat well in the morning, ride all through the day and have a good evening meal.
Just talking about the bike, did you have any reliability issues with the bike at all?
Bike ran absolutely perfect, like it should, because it's built to do the Dakar. It's built strong and no issues whatsoever, apart from the one puncher.
Right, one puncher in 4.5 weeks.
Yeah, I rode over a cactus plant. It's Glamis sand dunes.
Just tell me about this photograph we're looking at now, this inner tube.
Yeah, I didn't actually notice I had a puncture. I pulled over at the service station and I looked at the tyre and it was hanging off the rim near enough. And it's front puncture, so I checked it and yeah, the inner tube had melted and yeah, changed it. Half an hour later I was on my way again.
So was the tyre okay?
Tyre was good, the tube wasn't.
Just a tube,
Yeah.
pretty short.
Yeah.
I know you stopped at Glamis Sands, and this is the place where the Monster Energy do all their sort of filming.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dirt bike filming going on.
What a place.
It's an absolute playground.
Just a
isn't it?
playground, yeah. Just June after June.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved it.
You know, Continental Divide. You've been to Australia and done the thing. Do you think this was the biggest adventure you've done so far?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone gets a chance to go travelling on motorbikes with your mate, you know, do it.
And getting there, realistically, all we're looking at is arranging shipping,
Yeah.
a budget of $100 a day, which is around sort of 65 to 70 pounds a day.
A day, yeah.
Budget.
Yeah. And as long as you want to ride for, basically,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. I could have carried on through Mexico and down into South America, but where do you stop?
So for the people that are watching this out there, yeah, what, you know, and they're looking at undertaking a trip like the Continental Divide or something similar,
Yeah.
whether it be in a European country, what's your advice to them?
Plan ahead and make sure you've got the right bike for the job and just go for it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So having done all that, zigzagging across America, the
Yeah.
Continental Divide,
Yeah.
you're now looking at doing something a little bit bigger, aren't you? Tell me about that.
The Baja 1000.
Baja 1000.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. 1,300 miles from
Yeah.
down Baja, California, the peninsula, from Ensenada to La Paz in November.
And it's like people are thinking, well, how are you going to afford that?
Yeah.
And I do know why, but the rally bike's been sold, hasn't it?
Rally bike's going, unfortunately, but you know, it's for a good cause, for my next race, next adventure. Got a good team together now. They're helping, they're paying their own way. Got good vibes for this.
So you've got a group of guys from, Benji Sayer, I believe, from D3.
Yeah.
And who else is
KTM
going?
mechanic, James. Met him in Australia, actually.
Right.
And things just all come together. He's a mechanic too.
So you've got guys there all with some sort of mechanical knowledge and
and
logistics.
Yeah, big event experience. Yeah. And we're all going from the UK to race this crazy race down Baja, California.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a video in the pipeline in relation to the promotion of that. But Eddie, it's been fantastic talking to you. Well, I'm afraid we've only really touched on the surface in relation to the Continental Divide trip. But it will give people an idea of, you know, what it takes to get out there. It's not that expensive really in real terms. You know, you can do it on a budget of between £5,000 and £6,000. The bonus Eddie's got is that he's single, so he's got the flexibility to do come and go, or do what he wants pretty much. But it's achievable for anybody, isn't it? And the biggest thing is actually getting your bike out there.
But it's as easy as booking a flight on a plane.
Yeah.
You know, booking a package holiday. It's you book your ticket for your bike like you would your plane ticket out there.
So, Baja 1000. We'll see you soon. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
Hey, Viva. What you doing?
He's like, not doing anything.
He's like, I don't normally see people up here.
No.
You're not used to seeing people up here. Hey? Hey?
He's like, look
He's
at
not
that.
even moving, look at him. Come on, boy.
Come on.
Run, run. Oh, he's got his hole there.
That's first bit of beaver you've seen in a while, Lyndon.
Haha, funny, Mr. Meek.
Well, that was my good friend Eddie Meek there talking about his trip last year to the Continental Divide in America with Lyndon Poskitt. Now, if you're inspired by what Eddie does and what Lyndon's doing at the moment with his races to places, there's loads of stuff on the internet. If you want to inquire about how to ship a bike out to America or any other country, for example, I'm sure David Wyborn at shipio.com would be glad to help and advise you as you need it. Also, I'm quite sure that if you messaged Eddie through Facebook, he would answer any questions for you. He's quite an approachable guy, but he's got the Baja next. I know he's well into his preparations for that. The physical fitness side of things are well underway. He's doing quite a lot of training, and the bike is being prepared as well by Benji Sayer at D3 Racing in Kendal. But what's next for me? Well, my next step is going to be Red Bull Romaniacs. That's my next adventure in July, back end of July. I'm going out with Mark Jackson and the gang from Eurotech KTM. All being well, David Knight's going to be with us as well. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm not not sure how that's going to pan out, but we're hoping that David Knight will be with us to do that event, and we'll be following his progress throughout the week. Helping me there is going to be a guy called Tino Bauer. Now Tino is one of the members of the Getsen Rodeo in Germany. We met a few years ago at Eddie's Extreme. We've been good friends ever since. And I'm also going to be linking in with Mike Taylor, my other mate, who you see from time to time helping with the filming. He's going to be support crew for one of the Iron Class riders. That's John Kerwin. The way things are going to work in Romania is that we're going to try and live stream everything as much as possible, just to save editing at the end of the day. So it's up to date information. It's bang on. It's accurate. Warts and all. We don't really care. It's going to be there. But in the meantime, I'll see you in Romania, and take care for now.